5 habits that are making you more anxious and burnt out from a therapist. Hey, and welcome back to another episode of the 4Q podcast. If you're new here, my name is Sheena Shuey. I'm a burnout therapist and a business mentor, and my superpower is helping you escape the matrix. I've come to realize that's my superpower, but really it's escaping the matrix by building a business that's aligned with who you are and your personality. That because once you do that, you get your time freedom back. And when you get to choose how you spend your days and what to create and how you spend your time, and you're not told by somebody else what to do and how to spend your time, that's how you break free. But I also love personal development. So not everyone who listens to this wants to start a business or has a business already. So again, if you're new here and you've stumbled upon this because of burnout, my specialty is burnout. So let's get into 5 habits that are causing you to burn out. So let's start with number 1, which is perfectionism. Perfectionism is often seen as a good thing. You know, people will literally put it on their websites or whatever to describe them, like, I'm a perfectionist when it comes to getting your website right, or I'm a perfectionist on getting your needs perfect, and there's a difference between striving to do well and perfectionism. And the key difference is perfectionism is when you sacrifice things to get something perfect. So again, another example that I often talk about in a training that I did on perfectionism with a bunch of therapists was around a lawyer who would spend 20 hours on a report getting it perfect, but that report should only take an average lawyer about 4 to 5 hours. So was his report better than everybody else's? Yes, but that 15 hours only improved his report by maybe 5-10%. So the ratio of effort to outcome is not that great. And so it burns you out because perfectionism is trying to control how people perceive you by doing extremely well. So usually the undertone of perfectionism is something I've got to prove. So let's say someone's a perfectionist about their house. Is it that they're trying to prove to themselves or others, I'm a really good wife, I'm really good house, maker, I can take care of myself, I can take care of my family? Like there's something driving it when someone won't play with their kids, won't, get work done. Sometimes they won't even have a shower themselves, but they'll be obsessive about getting the house perfect and clean. So that is what perfectionism looks like. And in business, perfectionism can look like when you want to sell something, you've got to have the perfect landing page, the perfect offer, the perfect sales script, everything's got to be perfect in it. So last December, January time, I had an idea for an offer. I wanted some more cash flow, whatever. There was a bunch of stuff going on. And I just created a $400 offer that I sold in my stories at the time. And this is back when I had Therapist VA, for those of you who are aware. I closed that business down and scooped it on up into Savasana Collective, but I was doing private practice coaching in that business. And so between that and Savasana Collective, I said, hey, I've got this offer. It's $400. Didn't have a landing page, didn't have a clear structure for everyone. All I did was create a payment link. And from that $400 offer, I sold 10 of those. So I made $4,000 at the time. And it just happens so fast. And I just want to remind you that if I had been a perfectionist about it, I would have created a sales page and done this and the perfect graphics and waited and waited and waited rather than just moving and testing and then refining and seeing what worked and what didn't, you know? And so I just want you to ask yourself, what area in your life is the proportion of time you are spending on it outweighing the outcomes? And don't get me wrong, like there's going to be times where that ratio is a bit off. So for example, when you first start on social media, you're putting a lot of effort into social media for not a lot of return in the beginning, but it's building your skills and knowledge. So again, just being mindful of, where am I being perfectionistic because I'm insecure about something? Or I find that I'm obsessing over it. It's all I can think about. There's usually a crumb of insecurity around it. All right, so that's the first one, perfectionism. Number 2 is not setting limits with your time. And what I want to say to this is, you can love what you do, but you still need limits. So again, a lot of business owners I work with, they love what they do. They're excited by it. They are excited by the clients or the work or the money or the opportunities coming their way, or just excited about the possibilities, which is incredible. But you can't do it all day, every day, even if you love it. And the perfect example of this is, if somebody loved working out, but you saw them working out 12 hours a day, you would probably tell them, hey, isn't that a bit much? And they might turn around and go, but I love it. It's what I do. I love it. It makes me feel good. But they're going to burn out doing that. They're not going to have an identity outside of that thing. And that's a danger zone. Because if you don't have an identity outside of your passions, if it can consume you if you can't do that thing. So this is why a lot of athletes really struggle once they've got the gold medal or they've reached their peak of their career, because their whole identity was being an athlete. And now they have to redefine themselves as a person. Who am I outside of this sport? You know, and so whether it's motherhood engulfing you, your business engulfing you, I really want you to think about, what things are you over-identifying with and maybe not setting limits on? So that's the second thing. First thing was perfectionism. Second thing is not setting limits with your time. Third thing is similar to second, but it's a lack of boundaries. And, you know, I'm still guilty at this of time, but I do better than 95% of the people that I know. And a lot of people have a lack of boundaries, because it's unclear, like boundaries, the word gets thrown around a lot. But what it really means is, what are the rules that you are going to use to govern your life and your relationships and interactions? So for example, you set a boundary that I work between 10 and 4 o'clock. You have that in your email signature. I work between 10 and 4 o'clock. Somebody emails you at 4:05. You tell yourself, oh, it's only 5 minutes after I set the boundary. That's okay. I'll reply to this email or answer this phone call, whatever. But then the next time it's 4:15. Then the next time it's 4:30. Now, none of that would have happened if you just held the boundary at 4 o'clock, both for you and them. So it's also the same of, if you're getting this freedom and time flexibility in your life, that's where it's the danger zone. Because if you're new to this, it's really easy to cross boundaries. And so something I say when I'm working with business owners who've never really had to set their own schedule is, treat it like a work day. So for me, I work between 10 and 2 and usually less than that. Sometimes I have to do, 10 till 1 or whatever around my kids' schedule. And so I make a real clear point of that is my working time. Now, because I'm only working 3 hours, I might tell myself, okay, I'm allowed to respond to some emails in the morning while it's fresh in my head, or a couple of emails in the afternoon. And that are the boundaries that I'm setting for myself. I'm not going to be available all day, every day, but I also make it very clear with people that I sometimes will send messages outside of hours because I am a working mum and I do have a busy schedule. And so I don't have any expectation that they will respond at that time and don't have any expectation that I will respond at that time. It's just convenient for me at that time. So that's one example. Another example is not being able to tell people that they can't come over. Now's not a good time. Sometimes we have a day where we have nothing on. And so if someone invites us over or invites us to something or wants to see us when we don't have anything on, we feel guilty for saying no. But really, we're allowed to set boundaries with ourselves and our time. And we all need those days where we got not a damn thing on, right? Because we all need that space. Space is what helps you get clear on who you are, what you want, and what's not working. People who are too busy are the ones with the worst anxiety and depression because they're not allowing themselves the space to see their life for what it is. And those are the people that wake up one day and go, wow, I created a life I do not love. I live in a place I don't like. There's too much pressure. I've created a business I don't like. I'm in a career that I don't really enjoy. You don't want that. You want to get that out of the way. Recognize that early. All right. Number 4, people pleasing and not saying no. Now, again, this ties into the other things, but, it's... And you probably do this unconsciously. You don't realize that you're doing the people pleasing a lot of the time. It's the same thing again of I'm always thinking about other people and not how I feel. You're a much better friend, mother, wife, daughter, auntie, worker, employee, business owner if you take care of yourself first. Now, people pleasers, if this is your actual personality type, and if you don't know your personality type, you can check that out in my quiz below. But your personality type really does, if you're this type, you feel guilty for not putting yourself first or not always putting others above your needs. And on the flip side of that, you also worry that if you put yourself first, they're going to not like you, or you're betraying them, or you're going to lose that relationship somehow, which is totally untrue, but it kind of gets ingrained in who you are. And that's something that we need to shift. So recognizing when you're people pleasing or not saying no is really important. And it's recognizing that just because somebody wants you to do something at work or wants to do something that you know in your heart you don't want to do, but you do it because you're trying to keep them happy, that's not cool. That's not going to serve you. So you've got to work on that. And it's going to feel uncomfortable because when you're people pleasing, you're trying to avoid conflict. You're trying to avoid someone maybe not liking you or not liking what you have to say. It is really scary for you to sit in that space, but I promise the more you do it, the easier it gets. And this is where working with a therapist or a mentor like myself is really important. Okay, number 5, a lack of belief, things that burn you out, habits that burn you out. Your inability to trust people and trust that things are going to work out. Now, what do I mean by this? when we don't trust that people can figure things out or that things are figure outable, we push ourselves way too hard. If we don't trust people, we work overtime. So if you don't trust your partner, you're always going to be chasing them up and following things up and going above and beyond. If you don't trust someone in business, same thing again, an employee. If you don't trust others to do what you need them to do, maybe it's your partner. Maybe you're like, hey, can you sort dinner? And you don't trust that they can, so you do it. Or, hey, can you clean the kitchen? But they don't do it to your standards, so you take it over anyway. This lack of belief that things are going to be okay, that everything's going to work out, keeps you in the hustle culture. It keeps you striving. Now, you can be the most explosive, expansive version of you without hustling and grinding every minute of every day. You got to be more rather than doing more. You need to understand that the more who you if you step into who you truly are, you can work more efficiently. So what I mean by that is I work, again, 3 to 4 hours a day. But what I get done in that 3 to 4 hours a day used to take me 8 hours. Now, why am I working so efficiently? Don't get me wrong, there's a few little micro habits I have, like I eat the frog, I do the hardest thing first, I don't double handle things. If I see an email, I don't tell myself I'll get back to it. If I can reply right then and then, I will. There's little micro things that I do where I just, if it can be addressed in 5 minutes or less, I'll do it right then and there. But the main thing is that I trust that everything's going to work out even if I don't get it done, which ends up inversely making me keep going. I know it sounds really crazy, but if you just trust that it's all going to work out and everything's going to get done, and I've done enough, I find that you work more efficiently. And I work to a bigger capacity. So the more I am me, the higher I'm charging. I charge more than what I used to, right? Which means I have to see less clients to earn the same amount. So I'm being more of me. I have built my authority. I show up every damn day. It's a privilege to work with me, and I know that. I know I'm good at what I do. I know that I transform people's lives and businesses and make them see who they truly are and what a gift that is, that I get to see that and they get to see that. And I charge what that's worth. But I didn't start there. I didn't start who I am today. I had to build this person. And so I had to build that belief in myself, belief in others, belief that things are going to work out. And that's when the magic happens. And so that's a habit I want you to get into, because if you don't believe it, that's when you're going to hustle. Because you're trying to overcompensate for the lack of belief. And whether it's spiritual, the yin and yang, the ask and it is given, the black and the white, matter and air, you need to let things breathe. And if you don't, that's what leads to burnout. So I hope you got something from this episode. I know you got something from this episode. And if you loved it, get back to me, share it with me, share it with someone who needs to hear it, share it on your social media, share your messages, and I might even give you a little bonus if you share it in your social media. But I want you to know that you're doing enough. You are enough. And I'm so here for you. You've got this. And it's all happening for you. It's all going to work out. You just have to build that belief. All right, beautiful soul, you're doing enough. And I cannot wait to see you in the next episode of the 4Q podcast. Bye for now.